I'm Peter King. I'm the Legal Director at Treasury Legal Advisors, which is the department which advises the Treasury. It's incredibly varied work, so it ranges from the regulation of financial services at one end, through a lot of work on stability of the financial system, particularly stability of the banking system, through to the management of public money, sanctions, illicit finance and so on. So it's a very varied diet of work. It covers transactional work, advisory work, litigation, areas which you don't do in the private sector, like drafting bills and drafting other legislation. So very broad range of legal skills required. But also in terms of the actual subject matter. The subject matter that we deal with in the Treasury, as I mentioned before, is pretty broad actually, particularly when it comes to the areas of managing public money, which can touch any other area of government. My colleagues in other departments also deal with very varied areas. So, the Education Department dealing with schools, the Ministry of Justice dealing with prisons, the Department for International Trade dealing with our relationships with other countries on a trading basis. If you're working in a commercial law firm, in the end, the major consideration that you're worried about is your client's money. How to protect your client's money, how to make sure your client makes more money. That obviously is a consideration, particularly in the Treasury. We're worried about the government's money, the taxpayers' money. But we're also worried about much bigger issues, political issues, reputational issues, the way in which the long-term future of the country is assured. Those are much bigger interests than we were ever dealing with in the private sector. And that makes the job significantly more interesting in my view. I guess the life of a government lawyer, the life of a civil servant is always unpredictable to some extent. You can never be sure what's going to happen. But we're living in particularly unpredictable times at the moment. All sorts of things are happening which no one would have expected, and we're having to deal with those on a daily basis. We're working on what is effectively a complete constitutional change for the United Kingdom, something which hasn't really happened in the same way for the past 40 years. So it is a historic moment in time. The job would be interesting even without the historic moment in time, but this makes it particularly interesting. What I find particularly encouraging is that the civil service as a whole, and the government legal department in particular, rises to that sort of challenge. When you say, we're going to change everything, we're going to unravel 40 years of lawmaking in 2 years and go back to square one, that's something that everybody rather relishes and rather enjoys. We're dealing with people who are very bright, who are very motivated, often very motivated by public service, which is refreshing, and people who have a complete lack of cynicism. So it's actually quite rejuvenating, and it makes you enthusiastic about the work because you're working with people who want to find answers and who are genuinely creative about what they're trying to do.